In 1932, the United States was sitting at the absolute bottom of the Great Depression. With millions out of work, simply finding a daily meal meant standing in bread lines that stretched for blocks. Yet, despite widespread financial ruin, people were still finding pennies for the cinema. And the film that captured more of those pennies than any other that year came from Paramount Pictures. Their release, Shanghai Express, dominated the box office. The premise reads like standard pulp melodrama. A group of wealthy, first-class passengers find themselves trapped and held hostage by a rebel warlord during a Chinese civil war. But audiences didn't make this film a massive financial success to see a standard hostage crisis. They bought tickets because it offered an incredibly rich, completely immersive escape from the grim reality waiting for them outside the theater doors. In every sequence, the director chooses to prioritize the environment over the traditional mechanics of the plot, letting the film's narrative logic drift into the background. The primary engine for this atmospheric experiment is the physical setting itself. The entire journey takes place within the claustrophobic confines of a steam locomotive, plunging forward through the darkness. The architect behind this approach was director Josef von Sternberg. He treated filmmaking less like recording a play and more like painting a canvas. By favoring visual mood over the standard demands of a plot, von Sternberg proved that an environment could be the primary draw, changing how audiences engaged with early cinematic storytelling. To achieve this specific look, von Sternberg collaborated closely with cinematographer Lee Barmes, forging a partnership that would eventually win an Academy Award. Together, they heavily utilized a technique called chiaroscuro. Originally a Renaissance painting term, it refers to the use of stark, heavy contrasts between light and dark. They literally painted the sets by leaving large sections in deep shadow while blasting specific areas with intense, focused light. They would take overhead spotlights and filter the beams through physical obstructions, feathers, lace veils, and thick smoke. This highly manipulated light fell perfectly across Marlene Dietrich's face, sharply sculpting her famous cheekbones. The resulting image of Dietrich is one of sharp edges and obscured features, casting her as a figure both ethereal and distinctly dangerous. The train itself provided the perfect physical extension of this lighting design. The constant, suffocating presence of industrial smoke and steam rolling past the windows gave the light a physical texture to cling to. The result is a visual pressure cooker. The heavy, shifting shadows inside the train externalize the deep, unspoken tensions of the passengers, communicating their psychological states without needing a single line of dialogue. This dark visual style was matched by the film's mature character dynamics, which were only possible due to a specific historical window. Shanghai Express is a pre-code film, meaning it was produced and released before Hollywood began strictly enforcing its moral censorship guidelines in 1934. Without a censor looking over their shoulders, the filmmakers were free to explore complex adult themes, allowing for a level of unapologetic female agency that would soon be banned from the screen entirely. We see this most clearly in the dynamic between Dietrich's Shanghai Lily and her fellow passenger Hui Fei, played by Anna May Wong. Despite coming from entirely different social backgrounds, both women are trapped in the same claustrophobic environment, navigating identical threats from the powerful, treacherous men controlling the train. And neither is written as a passive victim waiting for rescue. Wong brings a fierce, quiet intensity that perfectly counterbalances Dietrich's cool detachment, and ultimately, both women take control of their own destinies. The film's lasting power relies heavily on this subversive relationship. It shocked and thrilled audiences in 1932, precisely because it defied the rigid gender roles they were accustomed to seeing. The visual legacy of Shanghai Lily ensured that Dietrich's image would remain a reference point for stylized glamour for decades to come. But beyond her performance, the film stands as undeniable proof that a movie can succeed completely on the back of mood, texture, and visual poetry. The film pushes the boundaries of visual romanticism, testing how much a story can rely on atmosphere alone. Shanghai Express serves as a poignant reminder of a time when going to the movies wasn't about seeking grounded realism. It was an invitation into a pure, intoxicating dream world built entirely from celluloid and shadows. This has been Stalls or Circle. Thank you for listening.